It truly is. I actually met an artist here in Baltimore that works with prisoners in the same way, and she teaches a creative writing course. She put out these little postcards with just these little simple verses that the different prisoners had written. And I took home one and I have it hanging up in my office at work because it's just so beautiful and lyrical.
Yeah, I've taught a lot of classes. I've taught composition and literature, but not for college credit. I do often run a creative writing workshop, and some of the work that has come out of there has been phenomenal. Two of my students won place and one won a national contest. Another just sold an essay that she wrote to another national magazine. I mean, we have some really good writers in there who just had never had that opportunity to even think in terms of I could be a person who writes an article and sells it for money. That was not in the world that she grew up in. That was not a possible job that she saw other people having or doing. It didn't occur to her that that's a thing she could do, but she is so gifted.
That's wonderful. It truly is. Well, another theme in your novels seems to be the worst thing you've ever done.
Yes.
And most certainly plays center stage in Never Have I Ever.
Yeah.
What inspired you to make Rue's career finding out these worst things and then blackmailing people over them?
I think that what we are willing to do in the bright light of sunshine and what we will do in our dark, twisted little hearts are very different things. And we become better people because we love people and we want them to think well of us and we want to do right by them. And whenever we turn our eyes outward to the others around us instead of inward, I think we tend to become slightly better human beings. I guess what attracted me to it, I wrote a book called The Almost Sisters, and there are two best friends in it who, grew up together. They were raised side by side, shared a cradle even, and they're now 90. The granddaughter of one of them is the narrator, and she finds out a bunch of things about her grandmother, and her world is turned upside down, and she's shocked. And she's sitting with the best friend, and she's like, how could I have known her my whole life and not known these things? And the grandmother's best friend says, honey, nobody can walk around holding the worst thing they've ever done in the palm of their hand, staring at it. You gotta cook lunch and get the babies off to school. You gotta get out to your yard and plant your zinnias. When the Waddy said that, I knew the next book. Like I knew Never Have I Ever came into my head, and I knew what I would be writing next. And it came from that line. And I'm pretty sure that line came out of my work with reforming arts, because one of my students who has now been in prison, she's at the maximum security facility, and she's now been in prison for longer than she was alive before she went to prison. She went in a young mother and is now a grandmother. She's coming up for parole. She will be released soon. And she said to me, like 4 years ago, I think she planted the seed for this book when she first came up for parole. It usually takes about 5 to 7 years to actually get it granted at that stage. And she was like, I am going to get out of here at some point. And my biggest fear is when I leave here and I'm trying to make a friend or get a job or join a church or get somebody to rent me an apartment, people are going to look at me and only see this one thing I did when I was so young. I can't even remember being that girl. But that's the only thing they'll know about me. That's the first thing they'll learn about me when I apply. I'll just be that one act, and I'm not that person. And she's not. I mean, this is a student who has now graduated college with a 4.0, who is a role model and a huge community builder in a very difficult prison. She is a light who really helps other people find ways to survive and create opportunities and go out into the world in the hopes of leading a more sustainable life. So I think that's where it came from.
Well, that's very interesting because you kind of turned it on its head because you are teaching her to overcome it. And in this book, they go deep into it.
Well, they use it against.
Yeah.
Uses it against people.
But I mean, that's the question, isn't it? It's like, if you do something terrible, and Amy has done something terrible, she's done several terrible things, as we find out, are you ever allowed to set that down and be somebody else? I mean, I think that's the central question of the book. And I do want to say, too, like, this has gotten pretty serious. And I think all that's true. And I think all that's present in the book. Like, if your book club wants to talk about those things, it's all up in there. But it's also just like a really fun read.
Oh, it is. It is. And actually, I have to tell you, when I first started reading this book, I wasn't quite sure where it was going at first. And I was like, I don't And then I forget the turning point in the book, and I was like, all right, I'm all in. And it was a page turner because you just were not sure where it was going to go. And it was also a lot of fun.
I think, it's the kind of book your book club can read it and there's lots for you to talk about. But if you just want to pour yourself a big old gin and tonic and go to the pool and have a good time, go with God, enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely.
I think that's true of most of my books, and I think they're that way because that's the kind of book I like to read. And I think that's because I'm a rereader. If a book is good, I very seldom read it once. I want to read it one time just for fun, really fast, like just gobble it like a slice of cake. Nom, 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 nom. Then I hope there's more there, and I can read it again with knowing all the plot and stuff out of the way and pay attention to the layers. So I write the kind of books I like to read.
Now, do you have any upcoming books or events you'd like our listeners to know about?
Well, no. Never have I ever came out 4 weeks ago. So I am still touring. If you go to my website, you can see the dates I have left. I'm not coming up near you guys. And then I'll be traveling through November. And I have a page on my website that tells you everywhere I'll be. We will have a fun time. I usually play some games too. I told you maybe there might be a prize or two. And I don't know. We'll have fun.
That's great.
Well, can you tell our listeners your website?
Sure. My name is spelled oddly. It's Joshilyn, but it's spelled Joshilyn. So it's JoshilynJackson.com, or you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. My ID is my name, Joshilyn Jackson, on all of those places.
Great. We will update our show notes with that information so our listeners can make sure they know where to go to find you.
Thank you.
Well, Joshilyn, it has been a pleasure interviewing you today. And please keep us posted of any upcoming books because we will definitely want to check those out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay here. I really enjoyed, this was my first kind of psychological thriller as opposed to more of like a women's fiction or a book club book. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm smack dab in the middle of a second one.
Oh,
great.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That book was yummy.
Absolutely. With a spoon.
It was an excellent, excellent read.
The title says it all. What a premise to write a book about a game that we all played as teenage girls.
And to revolve it around a book club. Win-win.
Yeah, that was right up our alley, that's for sure.
Yeah. And another book that we really can't say a whole lot about the story. You're just going to have to read it because there's lots of secrets in this book.
And you'll be making a mistake if you don't read this one. This one is excellent.
I think a quote from Joshilyn describes this book in a nutshell. She says, I write weirdo fiction with a shot of Southern Gothic influence for smart people who can catch the nuances but who like narrative drive and who have a sense of humor but who are willing to go down to dark places.
That is perfect.
Yes. And this book went to dark places and...
So dark, down under the ocean.
That's right. That's right. In a shipwreck.
Yeah, that was a fun part of the book, actually. I enjoyed reading
did too.
about the diving.
As we said in her bio, she learned how to dive while she was writing this book. It comes through. She knew what she was talking about. It was excellent.
Yes, that's not something that you could write about and be as detailed as she was.
Yeah.
About the gauges and
The whole process.
Yeah. This is a real page turner, I'm telling you.
Oh boy, is it ever.
And it just goes to show you that you live in these perfect little lives and your perfect little house and your perfect little family, how your past...
You got a secret. It's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Well, it just made me think, what have I done in the past that could come back to haunt me?
I thought about that too.
I did too.
Like if somebody showed up at a book club, like say our book club, and said, let's play a game, what would get dredged up?
Well, never have I ever.
Wouldn't you like
Or
to
Truth
know?
or Dare, which is another way of saying that game, Truth or Dare. Everybody has something, even if it's a little piddly thing like stealing a candy bar from a store when they were 10.
How dare you, Anne?
But
They weren't candy bars back then. Never mind.
But Amy's secret was huge.
Yes, it was huge.
And I can honestly say, I'm pretty sure I don't have anything near what Amy had.
No, I don't either. Thank goodness.
No, but it does make you think. Everyone makes mistakes, and we don't want to broadcast them to the world.
Right. And they're mistakes that would just be embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want people to know about them. Not crimes or... She has 8 novels in her basket
think she
already.
said that those books are not really like thrillers, but I think
this
the
is
next
her
one
first thriller.
So we can't wait for Joshilyn's next book. You can go to her website.
JOSHILYN Jackson.com. It's a week and a half until Halloween.
And I can't wait.
And that's in Ellicott City, Maryland, the 25th and 26th of the month.
There's still time for you to go to hallowread.com and purchase your admission ticket and get 15% off if you enter the code Dark and Stormy.
Sounds like a great deal.
And we're looking forward to that event very much.
On our next episode, we will have interviews with a few of the authors that will be there, so you can get to learn a little bit more about Hallow Read. And to be honest with you, that was our way to get to know a little bit about Hallow Read, because this will be our first year.
Be sure and visit our website. It was a Dark and Stormy bookclub.com.
There you can sign up for our newsletter. You can listen to all of our episodes. You can check out the show notes for all the episodes.
You can also email us, especially if you have a short story that you would like to submit for our January newsletter. We are anxiously looking forward to receiving short stories and really look forward. So if you have a short story to tell, you can submit it through our email. Make sure you put short story submission in the reference line. Go to our website for all the details on what we're looking for. And it doesn't have to be a brand new story. It can be a previously published story. But remember, we have a lot of publishers that are on our newsletter list. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
That's right. We may be help in finding the next Ernest Hemingway.
Well, he wasn't a mystery author.
He also drank.
Okay, the next Agatha Christie.
Exactly. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. We hope you'll join us next time. And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery.
bye.